What's up, lemon heads? Welcome back to another episode of From the Yellow Chair. I'm Emily.
And I'm Crystal.
And this week we're going to talk about a huge problem that we see all the time. And we're going to kind of consider some branding fails, if you will.
Absolutely. Just how we have seen clients or we ourselves have not really bought on or bought into the true branding things that can happen when you trust the process and how you can really grow your brand. So I'm excited to talk today with Emily a lot about ways that we've seen people not be successful with branding. Let's sip some lemonade.
Let's do it. All right. So, Crystal, in your opinion, what do you think is one of the biggest major branding fails?
Well, I would have to say it's probably going to be a lack of being scared of being disruptive. So like
I would
playing
agree
it
with that one. Playing
playing
it
it
safe for sure.
safe. Yes. Man, because we have really seen some good brands. Either they come to us with a good brand or we pitch good brands to them, meaning like cool logos or mascots or characters, whatever you want to call it. Cool like symbols, taglines, even company names. And
Yeah.
yeah. And the companies even they're just so scared to be that off the beaten path that they literally talk themselves out of it.
Mm-hmm. Or like they love it for a little bit. Like as soon as we pitch it, they're like, "Yeah, let's do it." And then like they get too many opinions, or like they ask committees, and committees' jobs are to help you play it safe to avoid risk. And then they're like, "I can't do it." Like everything's like you see like their
It's
shoulders
too
just like
far.
physically shrink in. Yes.
You know. Well, and here's the deal, like we all have people in our lives that we trust. So, people that we trust their opinion or we've seen them be successful, and things like that. But a lot of times I've noticed that for the most part, contractors spend a lot of time um, being in rooms that are comfortable. So very rarely are we like, you know what? Let me go into a room with people that are doing it better, making more money, growing faster. Let me go into that room. A lot of times we like to be the big man in the room, or we like to be the one that has all this power. And so there's a lot of humility that comes along with rebranding. There's a lot of like just a trust factor that comes into play because listen, if it was easy, everybody would do it. So it's not easy. And it does require you to go out on a limb, but I always like to say the more you yourself can be bought into the brand, that passion is going to exude from you. It is going to infiltrate all the people around you. People have a hard time telling you how bad something is when you're so passionate about it. But
Correct.
if
Yeah.
you go to your trusted group of friends, let's say you got a good group of like 5 friends and you go to them and say, well, I hired this company and like this is my new look and this is my tagline. You're going to have two people that go, oh man, this is great. And you're going to have somebody that goes, I don't
I,
know. And then somebody's going to say, I hate it.
and then
And then,
the naysayers are going to way louder and seem much bigger and problematic in your mind than what it actually is. And I hate it when an owner might be sold on something, but then he goes to show the team and it's like, yeah, I showed it to my team and they didn't get it, or they don't know why we're doing this. And I'm like, well, did you just like print it on a piece of like copy paper and like, hey, what do you think about this? Or did you like, did you show the whole vision? Like we've just cast this whole vision for you and given you all these other ideas of how it could come to life, like so much more than beyond this logo. Did you share all that with him? Well, no. Well, and how'd you present? Like, were you excited about, like pumped up, this is the direction we're going to go and here's why? Or just like, what do y'all think? Like, of course that's going to get shot down and killed down.
yes, absolutely. And the other thing is like, you also present like a limp noodle. Like,
Yes.
the energy level of a tree stump out there, and like people even say, like they tell you and I that all the time, like, man, can y'all come and tell my team? Well, let me tell you,
Yeah.
you can tell your team with this much excitement. The problem is literally there are really good brands out there that number one there's nothing past the good logo or mascot. It's like real shallow after that. Or there's these really good developed brands that the logo doesn't match how good the brand is. We just had one of those people at our conference. Like we sat down and talked to this company and we were like, listen, you guys have so much personality. You do so many good
Yeah.
things, but your logo is like boring and run of the mill. And they were like, well, you're going to have to help us convince, Sue and Bob. And I'm like, well, let me at them. Like, let's go. Like, let's show them what
Or
we do.
what we've seen a lot is like people's parents, like maybe their parents started the business or their parents are still somewhat in the business. It's like, how do I honor them and not disrespect them? And, and I'm like, well, is mom and dad still running it? Well, no. And maybe they are, maybe they're not. But, sometimes I think working in the family business, that can almost be like, hey, we can't have Thanksgiving dinner because of this brand or bringing it up.
Yes. And, something else, like, this is so rude. What I'm about to say is so rude. But I
So
just want
rude.
to look at, so I don't go show all of the employees who have nothing to lose either way, whether you
Mm-hmm.
stay the brand you are, or change brands. To them, there's really not a lot to lose because they're probably going to draw a paycheck anyway. Last time I
Yeah.
checked. So, how about you ask people that maybe have something on the line? But I also encourage you to ask people that have a good grip on marketing. So, people will be like, well, I asked my accountant. I'm like, okay, the person that doesn't want you spending money, those are never going to be friends of Crystal and Emily's. but, but also, like, they're never like those types of people are built to err on the side of caution.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, y'all, we have seen it happen so very much to where it's just like a buy-in. So, Emily, let's talk to the people listening that have a good brand and maybe they need to go to the next level. What are some things that you think are holding the good-looking brands back from really building out brand collateral and brand equity in the market?
I think a big part is just not, it's literally like you said, just a logo. So I'm always thinking about like, what are some cool like wordings or terminology, phrases that you can use for like hook lines, for your offers, for titles, like maybe within your own team or like some type of give back or giveaway that you're going to give. I think there's a big part to really play it up more there. I think there's space for it in your maintenance club program and a community support program, whether that's through the colors, the names, things like that. There's so much more. And even like swag items, like I could go on and on. Like literally, we were pitching to a client a rebrand concept just the other day. And they're like, I love how this looks. But they're like, I'm having a hard time envisioning what else it could be. And so literally all we did after that was type out a Google Doc of like all these different ideas, from social media phrases to giveaways to swag items to, hey, you could do this type of whatever. It didn't require any design at all. They just literally need to be like, oh, I didn't think about we could call all of our celebrations or something like that. Like these different little things. And like that's when it really starts to come to life. And that's where people are like, man, y'all just got it going on. Like
Yeah.
everything is cohesive and
And it energizes them.
correct. Yes.
It energizes the contractor, it energizes your team, and like, really, that is the fun side to us. Now,
Mhm.
to some people it's kitschy or it's corny or whatever we want to call it, but really the power here is in the fact that your brand, you have something to say. Even if you can't afford a rebrand right now, you still are pushing out a message into your market. And so control it and take it deeper. And then those of you that are getting ready to remarket or rebrand soon, I would start now identifying what are other people doing that stands out in your market so that you can go a different direction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if people are doing like big community support or other mascots, or they've wrapped all their vans neon green, whatever that looks like, let's focus on those things. So when you get ready in the next few months, you're like, well, they already were doing these things. How can I differentiate myself in other direction? But getting excited about branding is so invaluable to the growth of the brand, because you have to have passion behind it because it wears off. The new wears off. I tell everybody this about social media too. You will start off pumped up, excited, doing graphics, making posts, being organized, for about 31 days. And then you're like, this sucks and it's a lot of work. And you're like, oh, my girl in the office is going to do it. Well, no, she's not. She'll do it until it gets hot,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
until there's water freezing everywhere, right? And then all of a sudden she can't make a post for 4 weeks, and then she forgot about posting in general, and here we are again. It's a vicious cycle. It's the same thing with branding. Like, guys, there are companies that are doing great revenue, 7, 8, 9, $10 million, $50 million, with not so great brands. So
Mm-hmm.
can you have a profitable business without a great brand? Yes. But I always think, man, imagine what they would be doing if they had a good brand.
How could it be?
So,
How good could it be? Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
So, yeah,
well, one thing you said, like you mentioned, like looking at your competitors and like how can we do something different? And yes, that's 100% true. But like, I'd also encourage people look at your community and how can you do things differently. So, like for example, we are talking with a client. They're in Louisiana. He's like, well, what about like LSU colors, like purple and gold? Like everyone loves LSU around here. And I'm like, no, we do not want to blend in with
yeah.
anything LSU or like here in
Nor are we
Texas.
having a tiger as our
Yeah,
mascot.
we're not gonna have a tiger. No, we're not going to be Aggie Land heating and cooling because there's everything else is Aggie Land. We're not going to be maroon or and so we want you to stand out in the best way possible. So we're not going to suggest colors that's popular to a school or a university or here in East Texas, everything we have is a pine tree. So we're not going to suggest a pine tree as the logo. The First Baptist Church is a pine tree, plus the family dentist, plus the East Texas Tire. They all got a pine tree. That's
And the
nothing
pharmacy
unique.
and the vape shop. So,
Yeah.
but
So
for sure, no, that's great.
yeah, you got to find something that can make you truly unique. So not just amongst your competitors, but also in the community amongst everything else that is around you.
Yeah, and guys, a good point that Emily makes sure you just got to look for opportunities, all right? So
Hmm.
look for opportunities and buy into that how you're going to differentiate yourself. And so, logos are one thing, branding, colors, style guides, all of those are important. So I had a client the other day that is sponsoring her school's robotics team, which is
Mm.
a cool thing. And they do a lot for it. Like they built out a whole media kit. Like I was so here for it. But then I look on them like, what logo is that? And she's like, oh, I had them change my logo. I'm like, what? Why? Why would we do that? Because guys, logo is retention, right? So it's just
Mhm.
you see it over and over and over again. So if every time they see a van or a logo, it's going to be in a different color, a different shade, a different font, like absolutely not. So you have got to pick something that looks good, that you love, that is readable, that is not overly done. Okay. And that's got to be what people see every single time. The only time I make an example for this, and Emily might have to agree to disagree. Like if you're going purple for Alzheimer's Awareness Month and you change everything purple, but see, you're doing it for a specific reason, not just because today I wanted to be neon yellow. Like lemon seed, we rarely change our color unless we might be having to do a black and white version for a print that's not in full color. But
Yeah.
all of a sudden, you're really not going to see lemon seed marketing be in orange.
Well, but so I'm all for if you're going to change it, like, for purple for Alzheimer's awareness or something, but you have to execute it out well. So are
Yeah,
you
tell the
at the
story.
Alzheimer's Association walk? Are you posting on social media about Alzheimer's tips, things like that? Don't just change your color purple and then no one be like, why are they purple now? Well, we thought about, doing it for all, what? Like, as long as you can bring it full circle and make it make sense and like make some buzz and some spark and some noise about why you went purple for that cause, then yeah, I'm all for it. But don't do it haphazardly.
Yeah, no, for sure. Don't get in there and be all over the place with stuff. It's just
Don't change it every month. Like,
no, no. And like anyway,
pick
there's a
one.
lot of ways to get lost there. Don't do it. Just don't do it. If anyone says, "Can I change your logo?" No. I want you to practice that. Can I change your logo? No. So
Unless
I
it's
will.
limited and we're going to make it better for you, then
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, yeah. Unless it's Crystal and Emily. My bad. True. Also, another thing is like, people will contact you and say, um, I think that your logo, doesn't fit here. So, like, if you're a round logo, so this is a challenge. So, like, for a while, McWilliams, my family's company, was a circular logo. Well, you know what? That's really hard to do is put it on a billboard. Okay. Because a billboard is rectangular. And so there are times when you probably need to look to someone to help you build out the iterations of your logo. But again, that instant appeal, graphic appeal, I think is important. And you can still kind of save it in a lot of ways. It's just trusting the experts to do that. So that's on the logo and the colors and all of those things. Same thing goes for van wraps. We have some clients that are like, man, if I rebrand, like I've got to rewrap all these trucks. It depends. If you're changing your name and your whole color scheme and everything about your company, yes, you probably need to rewrap. But if you're doing a refresh of it and you're freshening up the font, the color, maybe and like just brightening it up, I would then do a schedule and look through those vehicles to say, these 5 vehicles are going to be with me for a long time, but these 2 are about on their last leg. Like Jimmy, he has to crank it 30 minutes before he's ready to roll. Like, don't rewrap that one. The one that's got smoke coming out the tailpipe, you ain't got to rewrap that one. But the newer ones you should rewrap. I always say the more vehicles you can rewrap and get on the road when you announce, and like all at one time, like this infiltration of the market, it is freaking gold. It is amazing. So financially preparing yourself for what that looks like and what you can afford to do is a very cool part of a rebrand or a relaunch. So I encourage you there. But also, Emily mentioned something too. Social media is another place that your brand story is really told. And
Mhm.
meaning, if you're a very fun, loving, like joking company and everybody's friends and you high five and it's a very positive environment, but you get on social media and you're like, hi, I'm Crystal with Yellow. Number one, I also sell funeral plans.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just not the same. So make sure that your energy level matches your energy level. So don't feel like just because you're outspoken and energetic that can't be what goes on social media platforms. It needs to. If you're passionate about your team and you do things for your team all the time that are fun and engaging or bonuses or whatever, highlight that on social media because it's all how everyone is experiencing your brand, whether it be visually with your logo or on the phone with your CSRs or your social media channels or direct mail verbiage. All of that has got to be cohesive. Or else you're just not setting the tone. You're setting a conflicting tone more than anything.
Well, it's the language and the way that you write is just an extension of the brand. It's your personality, if you will. So, like, I remember giving an example a while ago, and I was looking at two different airlines websites, and they were talking about the snacks that they serve on the airline. Okay, same thing, but one of it was like lavish yourself in indulgent Bavarian pretzels, da da da, and so like it was very formal and kind of, and the other one was like, hey, we'll toss you a bag of peanuts, like, and move on. It's a very much more relaxed. So, like, they're saying the same thing. We're going to give you snacks, but it was in a completely different, it was setting a different expectation with my interaction with each different one. Not in a good
Yeah.
or a bad way, but it needs to represent, if you are that fun and friendly and have some personality to your brand, don't let Chat GPT write it in a super formal, like, who wrote this?
100%. And like, if you were to say, enjoy warm Bavarian pretzels, you ain't on Spirit Airlines.
Yeah.
Okay,
Those
well,
are
that would be
literally
like the exact opposite.
But yeah, if Spirit Airlines was doing that, indulge yourself in lavish, you'd be like, like y'all
Yeah,
lie.
no.
Like,
So listen, I do have to tell this story really quick. So right, my husband and I were flying from Miami to Orlando, and I will not name the name of the airline, but it would be like the final. Okay. So
well, first off, was it like a 10-minute flight?
yeah,
Like,
40-minute little jumper flight. So I go in there and I'm like, so I fly a certain airline and I'm a little particular about it. But this one I was like, man, it's 40 minutes in the air. Like, just get me there and get me home. I'm fine. Or get me back to here. So I walk up to the gate and they're like, all right. And this is during 2021. So everybody was still finicky about masks. But he said, the person at the gate says, all right, y'all know the drill. Put your mask on. Don't try to get on here without a mask. Everybody's got to wear it. Keep it on. Put your seatbelts on. Don't ask any questions. We're glad to have y'all. And I was like,
are you really? Like, sorry, am I bothering you here being on this plane?
yeah,
Like,
excuse me, sir. And then I get on my regular plane and they're like, good evening, everyone. Welcome. We're going to be calmly boarding groups 1 through 3. I'm like, amen. You're back to it. But honestly, the ticket was $68 a piece. I mean, what did I think I was getting other than somebody's cousin that probably was out of prison? This was his first job to say, y'all gonna get on the plane and y'all gonna like it and y'all ain't gonna ask me no questions. So you got to set the tone right. So if you've got technicians pulling up to houses and trash is falling out and a cigarette's hanging out of their mouth and their shirt's all unbuttoned, and then you say, well, ma'am, that's going to be $600. Those two don't match.
correct. Yeah. They,
So,
they find value, or they have a perception of what they think the value is worth based off of how you speak to them, the language you put on social media, the way the technician looks, the way the truck looks. It's all related, and I think it's a super undervalued piece
yeah,
of marketing and running a business as a whole, to be honest.
absolutely. So, guys, I hope you've enjoyed chatting with us a little bit today about branding. Listen, Lemon Seed, we love the branding side of things. We love helping you bring your company's idea, your company's brand, who they are, who you are, your identity to fruition. Help you really grow it through community support, social media, great graphic design, and just good strategy to help put that out there. And so, thank you guys for listening. We hope if you're enjoying everything, you leave us some reviews. Tell us what you think.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.